All right, so there's a friend of mine, a professional friend, but she's on my Facebook. And she had posted something, of course, about the Charlie Kirk shooting, and their claim was that the round ricocheted off of his bulletproof vest, that the shooter was actually aiming at center mass, and it ricocheted off of his bulletproof vest and bounced up and hit him in the neck, and that kind of stuff. I don't believe that's true. I'm not a expert, but I don't believe that's true. So I commented and explained that I didn't believe it was true and explained why I believed it wasn't true. And in the comment, I was asking, I was asking the question of like, how many of the people on this thread that were like, yeah, I could see it in the video how his shirt ruffled, where it hit and then ricocheted up and hit him. Oh yeah, that's true, whatever. I asked, basically, and I don't have the words right in front of me. It's not in my screenshots you see here. But how many of you people are regular firearm users? How many of you are very well trained at all at using firearms? How many of you are at least well educated or very knowledgeable about the different laws of physics that are involved and how those forces interact when a bullet is fired and a slug is moving through the ether, the different forces that act on it and how that slug responds to the forces. How many of you have the mildest technical understanding of how body armor and bulletproof vests work? I mean, could you imagine if a bullet ricocheting off of a bulletproof vest was that like possible? Like, why would you wear the bulletproof vest? If someone could shoot at you and the bullet would likely just bounce off of the bulletproof vest like this is a Marvel or DC Comics movie or something, and bounce off of the bulletproof vest and shoot you in the neck or someone else, some other bystander. I mean, who would volunteer for that? Hey, I'm gonna put on this bulletproof vest, and there's a pretty good chance, it might just ricochet off of this bulletproof vest, this body armor, and shoot me in the neck. But let's see what happens. It just doesn't make sense. And I explained some of this, and anyway, this lady, Kristen Johnston McDaniel, Mick. I think Mick is Irish. I think the way it works, being a proud Scotch Irishman myself, I think the way that it works is that I think Mick is Irish and Mac, M-A-C, I believe, is Scottish. I think that's the way it works. Kristen Johnston McDaniels, looking at her Facebook page, that McDaniel is a married name because you don't look Scotch or Irish at all to me. Anyway, Dane Snyder, that's me. While I agree that it didn't ricochet, no need to be condescending and rude. What does it matter? It matters as much to me, at least, probably a lot more, than at least as much to me as it does to you to make this comment. Somebody you don't even know. What does it matter? He was brutally murdered. Either way, in front of his wife and children. That is a classic textbook perspective from a woman or a feminized man. What does it matter? Don't be rude, Dane. Because the important thing is that he was murdered in front of his wife and children. I understand he was murdered in front of his wife and children. And that's a very tragic and senseless crime. But what matters is that the fact that he was murdered in front of his wife and children does not, under any circumstances, justify for me or her or you or anyone to take this horrible, horrible tragedy and use it as an excuse to run around in the town square like a bunch of pearl clutching maniacs, spewing and spouting off things that are not true. Okay? It's horrible. It's just unconscionable to think of a man being assassinated on basically live television in front of what looked like tens of thousands of people, not even counting the people he was streaming to. That's a horrible, that's a heinous, that's a barbaric event. But the heinousness, the horribleness, the barbarity of that event does not give us an excuse to run around like a flock of turkeys. You know, I used to have a lot of livestock on these 5 acres, and we had a group of turkeys, and you could be 2 acres away from them and gobble at them. Gobble, 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 gobble. And the whole flock in unison would gobble back at you. They didn't have any idea why they were gobbling. They were just like, hey, everybody's gobbling. I heard a gobble. It's time for me to gobble. Gobble, 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 gobble. The terribleness, the terror, I don't know how far, what words to describe just how barbaric and brutal and savage this event was. The English language fails us in coming up with words to adequately communicate just how brutal, vile it was to assassinate Charlie Kirk on live TV in front of tens of thousands of innocent people, live on video, and in front of his wife and his children. I can agree with that completely. But that doesn't mean that it's okay. Because people are upset, people are in mourning, people are grieving, people are in shock, people are in fear. People are experiencing anger that they're not even sure who to point it to. There's this nameless, faceless entity that I keep seeing on the internet and on the national news and stuff called the left. And like I say, I've said in a lot of my posts on Facebook and Twitter and so on and so forth, and in a lot of my videos and stuff, you can't get any more conservative than I am. You can't get any farther to the right than I am. You know, the way I describe it is, I am so far to the right that I'll make Donald Trump look like a progressive. I'm way over here, you know, but and that's part of the problem, now that I think about it, is that a lot of these people with this mindset, they're really not conservative. Okay, maybe that's not true. Maybe they are conservative. If you sat down with them and interviewed them, you could find out, yeah, you would. Yeah, your socio-political beliefs, you know what? It's collectively referred to as a worldview. A lot of these people probably don't even know what a worldview is unless they Google it on their phone. But you might can sit down and interview them and come up and say, yeah, according to what you say you believe, your worldview here, yeah, you would be a conservative. But if you were to ask them to tell you objectively what it means to be a conservative, what it is that makes them a conservative and not some other political persuasion, my experience has been, because yes, I've asked people that before, they don't have a clue. All they know is their church friends say they're conservative. Their neighbors say they're conservative. Good Christian people are conservative, and that's all they know. Don't kill babies. If don't hump people that are the same sex you are. If you're a man, don't be dressing up in women's clothes. Um, I don't know. In 2025, like in my mind, I'm thinking in the back of my mind and not saying it, I would say, don't be shacking up with somebody you're married to. But most of the damn conservatives I know now, they done thrown that out the window. And they come up with, well, you need to test drive them. You need to make sure that you're really compatible to be married. And really what they mean is you need to make sure that you enjoy having sex with them, or, that kind of stuff. I, I hear so many so-called conservatives using the same phraseology that those fools on the left say, about don't judge. Ain't nobody perfect. Don't judge me just because I sin differently than you, you know. So you can't use a lot of that stuff anymore to define pro-family, pro-religion conservatism. You can't. But most people that claim to be conservative, they don't really even understand what that label means. That's just some metal they hang around their neck. It's like people you see that, they want to talk about, they're God-fearing Christians, but if you go to their house, the Bible's over there on a bookshelf somewhere covered in dust. And all that a lot of them know are the Bible stories they were taught in Sunday school on a felt board as children. But if you try to talk to them about the actual meat and potatoes of how those Bible stories apply to their life, you'll find out that often it doesn't really have much effect at all in the decisions they make. Not beyond the decisions they make in regards to being a good person, you see. Anyway, so, it's just this guy, Charlie Kirk was murdered in a horribly brutal, public, shameful, dishonorable way. But that doesn't mean that because of that we can just start running around like Chicken Little. The sky is falling. The sky is falling. Everything that I say is important and good and true and can't be questioned, all because we're in the aftermath of what, by all indications, indicates a good man being assassinated on what is essentially live television. However, when you get into the feminine mindset, the feminine perspective, those feelings and emotions and, the pearl clutching and stuff, oh my God, it's just so sad and terrible. Those feelings, they override any other consideration. And in the feminine and the feminized mind, those feelings justify going around saying things and convincing people that things are true that either are not true or that you, the person saying those things, have no way of knowing whether they are true or not. Truth begins to be subjugated in the feminine mind to the feelings. Oh my God, his little girl was there. And I am not mocking the tragedy at all. I'm not making light of the pain and the horror, the terror, the loss. Anyone who knows me and has watched or read anything I posted on social media can tell you the family unit is sacred to me. The office of the father is sacred to me. So when I say that, I am not trying to put down or make light of or taunt or belittle the pain and the agony and the grieving and the mourning and the destruction that was served out on the Kirks yesterday. I'm not. What I am saying is that these people on the right, the spectators, the ones who, very few of which were very politically active at all on Wednesday. And then Thursday, when Charlie Kirk was so savagely assassinated by someone, all of a sudden, these people are just politics and social involvement becomes some sort of a cornerstone of their life. And then they want to turn around to people like me and they want to try to tell us how we should conduct ourselves when they just woke up and crawled out from underneath their rock and had their feelings stirred up. But that's what's being displayed here in this Kristen Johnston McDonald's comment. What does it matter? Truth always matters, madam. He was brutally murdered either way in front of his wife and children. That does not justify you or anyone else running around passing out information that you don't know whether it's true or not. And in all of your virtue signaling there, if you were actually someone who consumed very much of Charlie Kirk's content at all, watched very many of his debates or his podcast or anything of that matter, then you would know that Charlie Kirk himself was a lover of the truth. And Charlie Kirk himself was a lover of separating the emotional spurging from the truth. So all of your, what does it matter? There was a man that was brutally killed in front of his wife and children, as if that justifies people running around spreading rumors as if they're some kind of experts, when in reality they don't have very much experience or expertise on firearms at all. Charlie himself would speak against that. I mean, I wasn't a huge Charlie Kirk fan, but I have been consuming his content since way back in like 2013 or so. I mean, you know, he wasn't anywhere close to my favorite, you know, streamer or podcaster or talking head or whatever, but he was at least on the list. I mean, I kept up with him at least. You know, it's blowing my mind how many people I'm seeing on Facebook now. A lot of these people over the last 30 years would tell me I'm too extreme, you know, especially in the church. I love the Lord. Sometimes dealing with his people is just demanding and oh my Lord Jesus. I mean, just ask the prophet Jeremiah. I mean, really, you know, at any rate. And I know that a lot of my church friends, my Christian friends, when I say ask the prophet Jeremiah, they're going to go, what's he mean? Ask the prophet Jeremiah. What's he mean? You know, and that lack of knowledge of what I'm talking about is what I'm talking about. It illustrates the point I'm talking about. But these people, you know, so many of you, I'm looking at the stories up at the top of my, you know, Facebook page, the stories, and now probably 3 out of 4 of them will be like Charlie Kirk, Charlie Kirk, Charlie Kirk, my lunch. Charlie Kirk, Charlie Kirk, Charlie Kirk, a cat. Charlie Kirk, Charlie Kirk, Charlie Kirk, Charlie. I'm like, Wednesday and before, why wasn't Charlie Kirk in your stories, folks? It wasn't that important to you. Wasn't that important to you. A fella like me, look, I ain't trying to say I'm something special or I'm some sort of, you know, anything like, you know, like I'm the Navy SEALs of the Battle of Ideas or nothing. I'm not saying that at all. I'm a washed up, wore out, old fat, gray bearded redneck. But before there was social media, there was the letters to the editor. Over there in the 90s, across the state line from where I am now, over in the edge of Mississippi, M-I, crooked letter I. Crooked letter I, humpback, I, Mississippi. Yeah, it was an interesting childhood. But over there in Mississippi, the local newspaper that I like to call the Mississippi Press, the Mississippi Press, oh yeah, man, look, see me on Facebook? That used to be the letters to the editor. I'm talking about when I was young. I don't know if it was that I was a child prodigy or I had a mental disorder or maybe some sort of an amalgamation of the two. But this ain't nothing new to me. I'm not some old dude that when Facebook and social media come out, I just decided I was going to jump on the bandwagon and just start trying to discuss, debate, defend socio-political worldview ideas. Mm-mm. Nope, this ain't nothing new to me. I've been probably doing this to one degree or another since I was probably about, man, I can remember when I was in elementary school, man, and my playmates, 9, 10 years old, they were collecting baseball cards of Pete Rose and that sort of stuff. And I'd be like in the 4th, 5th grade, would have been. They'd want to talk about stuff like that, Pete Rose or, the professional wrestling stuff or something like that. And I want to talk about Muammar Gaddafi's line of death. I want to talk about things like the Iran hostage crisis. That is not a lie. I didn't make that up. That sort of stuff. But now since yesterday, I'm turning on Facebook, and here's all these people that been on my Facebook for years and years and years, and all of a sudden they're like a fan of Charlie Kirk. I'm talking about this is send me my flowers while I'm alive on steroids. Y'all on there posting about what a great man he was, and we've lost so much in Charlie Kirk. And, we just need, he gave us so much. And we need what Charlie Kirk was giving us so much. And I'm sorry, I'm not trying to beat nobody up. I'm not trying to hurt nobody's feelings. Like I said in the beginning of this video, this is one of the unpopular opinions. I hate saying that. But I don't buy it, folks. And what I'm seeing out of us on what I like to call the right, and I think a lot of y'all who think you're on the right, you ain't on the right, but you think you are, so I'm going to say you're on the right. Kind of like them transgender people wanting you to use their funny pronouns and stuff, I'm going to go along with it, and I'm going to say, okay, you're on the right and everything. Y'all supposed to be on the right, all of a sudden. See, I've been like this my whole life. And my whole life I've had people, whether it was sinners or saints, young people or adults, and they would tell me stuff like this, Dane, you draw a lot more flies with honey than you do vinegar. Dane, you have to tell people the truth. Jesus does tell us to tell the truth, but you need to make sure that you tell the truth in love. And what they meant was not really love. What they meant was to be polite. Don't be rude, which is the person, this young lady, was her issue. Well, you're just really rude. At any rate, it's just funny to me that now I'm looking up and everybody's posted about how great Charlie Kirk is, and I don't understand how it seemed like 20 minutes ago. It was actually about 36 hours ago. Wasn't nearly about anybody on their little stories posting nothing about Charlie Kirk, Ben Shapiro, Steven Crowder, Andrew Klavan, Michael Knowles, and I ain't even really I am not fans of Andrew Klavan or Michael Knowles, either one. As a matter of fact, a lot of y'all would comment on my posts and stuff. Why are you always trying to pick fights with people? Why you always got something negative to say? Who hurt you? You need to find Jesus and healing from your pain. Y'all say that kind of stuff whenever I would post something dealing with worldview and the societal rot and degeneracy brought on by these people on the left. Y'all come at me and tell me I wasn't being very loving. I wish I had a dollar bill for every time somebody told me that I was the reason. People like me was the reason why folks didn't want to go to church. When the fact is, the reason people don't want to go to church is they love themselves and their sin more than they love the Lord. But I'd get that laid in my lap just because I did not subscribe to the social religious teaching that politeness was a virtue. But now that Charlie Kirk has been assassinated, which again is a horrible, horrible, heinous, barbaric, savage thing that cannot be condemned enough. But now it has happened. All of a sudden, so many of these people and the types of people who for 30-something years have been telling me I need to be nicer. You'd have more friends, Dane, if you wasn't such an asshole. Okay. All right, I'm just telling people the truth. That's what I'm called to do. God told Jeremiah, if I tell you to go warn a man of his sin, and you do not warn him, and he dies in his sin, then his blood will be on your hands. Black letters, white paper. That's what God's word says. I mean, on top of that, if you actually do love your neighbor as yourself, and if you love your enemy like God commands you to, and since it's God's word saying love your neighbor and love your enemies, then it's sensible to say that that word love is defined by God, not by the culture, because the culture defines love to mean keeping someone happy and unoffended and comfortable and feeling validated and seen, justified, all that kind of stuff. But God defines love in the Word of God, in His Word, as doing what is best for the object of your love, even if and especially when doing whatever that is cost you something, or like with Christ, cost you everything. But the modern culture, we want to love people without it costing us anything. We want to love people without it hurting anybody's damn feelings. We want to love people in such a way that we get invited to all the crawfish balls. And that ain't the way it works. If you're truly loving people, I mean loving people 100%, loving them in season and out of season, loving them when they love you back and loving them when they don't love you back, you will not get invited to very many crawfish balls or Super Bowl parties or birthday parties. That's the way it works. I mean, if you love the Lord, you're working with the Lord, the world's going to hate you. Every one of his disciples were martyred except for John the Beloved. And even then, he got shipped off to the island of Patmos. He got shipped off over there. He, basically sent to his room, shipped off to the island of Patmos. They didn't martyr John, but they didn't just run him out of the neighborhood. They ran him out of the whole damn country, I mean, if you're loving the Lord and you're speaking the truth the way Jesus spoke it, then you're going to be crucified like Jesus was crucified. And there's a little bit of that poetry in there, but what I'm saying is there's a reason that Jesus warned us. He warned us and at the same time offered us comfort when he said, when the world hates you, take heart that before they hated you, they hated me. But so much of the church today wants to talk about how we need to try to be polite. We need to patty cake down the truth and give it to people like we're like advertisers, or we're like at Walmart or Burger King or something, and we need to package up the truth of the gospel in such a way that the American people will swallow it. Come on now. That's just, let me quit. But anyway, so this young lady, she, what does it matter? You know, man's being killed. So that means that we just get to just say things that ain't true. So I engaged with her. I figured, she must not be familiar with me or she wouldn't be poking the bear. So I engaged with her. And what I challenged her on was the fact that she don't know me. So she don't have any grounds whatsoever. I asked her, basically, in so many words, I asked her what it was that she based her authority, her place, her commission, her right to wag her finger at me about my behavior. In so many words, in a whole bunch of words, I basically asked her, well, who the hell are you, lady? Who are you to come tell me how to behave? I'm not your child. Go wag your finger at some damn body else. And at the end of it there, I said, look, I don't understand why you think that you could come to a man you don't know, step up on a man you don't know, wag your finger at him and try to tell him how he's supposed to behave, why you think you can control the behavior of some man you don't even know. And so I told her, I said, I guess I saw on her Facebook page she's married, so I guess at home you used to treat your husband like that, and he just goes along with it. I said, but baby, I ain't the one. And that's where this next little thing right here comes up at. Y'all see it right here? This little dude here. And I'm telling you, that Christian woman, she not the first woman like that I've come at like that when they want to come wag their finger at me like they my mama or something. I told her in that comment when I responded to her, Deidre Snyder's been with me almost 40 years. She gave me 5 children. She stood by me when she probably shouldn't have. I don't have to wash laundry in this house. I rarely cook supper anymore in this house. I almost never even dish up my own supper. This right here, before she went to bed a few minutes ago, she filled that up with ice and water so I can bring it to bed with me. This right here, if she was out there right now washing the dishes, I said, hey, baby, could you give me a little bit more brandy? She said, yes, sir. Sir. She either calls me sir or Big Daddy, depending on what mood she's in. She's going to get my brandy. She takes care of Big Daddy. And I explained that to that Christian gal. And then I told her, with all that merit in the bank for her, she still don't get to tell me how to talk. She still don't come tell me how to behave. You know why? Because Big Daddy in this house is the prophet, the priest, and the king. I'm the one held accountable for how this family turns out, how this marriage turns out. One day I'll stand before God and I'll give an account for how I took care of my duty to lead this family as the Christ figure of this family, as prophet, priest, and king of this family. God over man, that's me. God over me. God over man, man over woman, woman over child. See? So as great as Deidre Snyder is, she sleeps every night next to me. If I wake up in the middle of the night with a migraine or something, I can nudge her and tell her, and she'll get up out of her bed and she'll go get an ice pack and she'll get some Max salt, this, that, and the third. She'll come in there and take care of Big Daddy. That's the way it works. But even then, she don't get to look at me and tell me, there's no reason to be rude. Let me pull this back up and see what it says. Oh, look, let me pick up what maybe I Well, yeah. No need to be condescending and rude. Deidre Snyder, good Lord. I couldn't begin to count the many times that we've done the horizontal hustle. We got 5 kids. Let me get over here. I'm still trying to get used. Oh, yeah, we got 5 kids. That ain't no accident. And she still don't get to tell me that there's no need to be condescending and rude. You need to behave, Dan, and you're going to hurt somebody's feelings. And that's probably why we've been married almost 40 years. Well, I mean, there's a lot of reasons, but that's on the list. So that's what I told that lady, basically. I ain't your husband. You need to go boss your husband around, leave me alone, you know? And that's when Kyle showed up in his best man voice. I'm her husband. I'm gonna tell you to calm down. So I see that trying to intimidate and control the behaviors of others must be a family trait. I'm gonna tell you to calm down. How you gonna tell somebody to calm down through social media? What you gonna do? I mean, what you gonna do, man? It's just like back in the 70s and 80s. Remember the Super Friends? I think it was Superman. He had some kind of vision thing where he needed to like melt ice or something. There'd be these rays coming out of his eyes. He'd be like, whoop, whoop, whoop. What you gonna do, Kyle? I mean, what you gonna do, man? You gonna use them Super Friend eyes on me? You need to calm down or I'm gonna whoop you into oblivion. Silly, 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 silly. You need to calm down and watch yourself. How the hell am I watch myself, man? I mean, I guess I can wash myself a little bit because I'm a fat dude, but I mean, how? I can see my legs, I can see my gut, my arm. You need to calm down and watch yourself. I'm not the type to sit idle. Brother, if you can't control your woman any more than to have her on the internet wagging fingers at me and she don't even know, I ain't worried about you. That's kind of the bottom line there, buddy. I am not anywhere near some kind of Billy Badass, Chuck Norris wannabe, whatever. I have been in many fisticuffs because this personality cannot exist without being in a fisticuff at one point or another in their life. I've been in many fisticuffs, and I am not ashamed at all. It doesn't hurt my feelings to confess that I come up on the shorter end of probably the vast majority of them. You win some, you lose some. The losing end I came up on more often than not, but you know what? I still kept on saying what I thought was true. I mean, I'm not the type to sit idle. Well, bless your little low peak picking heart there, Kyle. You are trying to police people on, he means here, he typoed. You are trying to police people on here and you sound autistic and mental. I don't know why he would throw out autistic. I mean, that's absurd. But mental, okay, I'll give him that. He probably has a pretty good argument there. I wonder sometimes. Imagine the stuff that comes through my mind that don't come out my mouth, folks. I'm going to ask you to not talk to my wife that way or think you know someone. I don't know what to think you know someone means, but for the record, Kyle McDaniel is not the first feminized man who's led by his husband. That was actually, it's late, folks, and I'm tired. The first feminized man led by his wife who has stepped up on me like that when his wife stepped out of her role in her lane in life and tried to lay down the law to tell me that I am not to talk to my wife like that. So my response to him was, as you see here, I said, it sounds to me like you need to do your duty according to God by exercising your dominion over your wife rather than trying to show out on Facebook with an implication of a threat of violence online to some stranger on the internet. In other words, if you can't keep your wife from stirring up conflict, well, look, I'm not going to read through all of this, but this is what happens with rogue women like this when they're married to men who will not lead them. Okay? Here's what happens. Those women go out running a pie hole and stirring up trouble with other men. This is how a lot of husbands get killed with a T. Get killed. Or at least get beat down somewhere. Is that woman especially if she's in public somewhere and she gets sideways and she's used to running that trap, is she'll go stir up crap with some dude because she's used to her pretty privilege. She's used to the fact that most men are not going to Judy chop her. So she gets to have her say, I'm a mama bear. I'm a boss babe. And she gets to have her say, and that man knows, if I Judy chop her, I can't win. I'm going to go to jail. So he just treats her kind of like you do a child throwing a tantrum. And you're just like, okay, whatever. You're a child. Okay, I'm an adult. You're a child. I'm going to consider that. But from her perspective, she straightened him out. She won that battle. She showed her something. That kind of stuff. And they go and they do that. And then when they come up on a fella like Big Daddy, who looks at her and says, like, man, you just sit down, shut up, and go make me a sandwich. Then she's like, well, I can't believe he was like, that guy was just disrespectful. And then the husband, who should have been leading her in such a way to keep her from causing the problem, now he wants to come out. You can't talk to my wife like that because I don't get idle. And if it happens to be somebody who really is crazy, and I'm not really crazy, kind of like that old saying about men they used to say about years ago about husbands, they say, well, he's not really henpecked, he's just got henhouse ways. Well, I'm not really crazy. I just got the crazy ways, So I'm not really crazy. But unfortunately, sometimes that woman will come up on some man who really is crazy. And then that husband comes out there, he goes over to her purse and he reaches in there and he pulls out that Crown Royal little purple velvet bag and he undoes the drawstring and reaches in and pulls out his testicles she's been carrying around her purse for their whole relationship. He puts them in his pocket and then he goes up and says, hey, you can't talk to my wife like that. And tragedy happens. There's a lot of incidents where women end up getting their husbands seriously injured or killed because of them running their mouths like that. They go start problems, and then their husband's like, oh, I got to put on my shining armor, and I got to get on my white horse, and I got to ride out in white knight, and I got to defend my woman who's out there running her damn mouth causing problems. But they don't have the testicles to look at her and say, shut up. Because when she's her own woman, she can have her own opinion. I don't have to go. It's not my place to control her and tell her how to behave, okay? Okay, then. Well, let her go on out there. Because she don't have to worry about getting Judy chopped. She don't have to worry about that. And if she does run up on a man who does Judy chop her, 95 at least % of the community will come to her aid and condemn the Judy chopper, no matter what the details were. So don't rein your woman in. Let her run around out there being rogue, running that pie hole to men. She don't even damn well hell shit. No. They don't know if the woman don't know how crazy the man is she might be talking to. I mean, like I said, I'm a little crazy, but the difference is I'm crazy, but I love the Lord. But they out there running around, they don't have no idea whether that crazy man they talking to loves the Lord or not. And I'm not speaking from a lack of experience. I guarantee them doggone tell you, Deidre Snyder. Ooh, I'm telling you, I've had many discussions with her, but she'd want to get mad. She'd want to have her say to strangers this, that, and the third. And I've had to step up on her, put my finger in her face, do what I call using my big voice, and tell her, you need to shut up. And try to tell her, I'm not going to let nobody hurt you. But you got to shut your mouth. Your temper, your attitude, your spurging, your head running, you cause problems that I'm, as a man, not going to let some man hurt you. Or even some woman hurt you. So when that crazy person you eventually might run up on comes over to do harm to you, now I've got to step up into a situation that could have been avoided because I'm not going to stand there and not be engaged to protect you because I'm your husband. I'm a man. I'm going to fulfill my duty. But I'm going to end up having to try to handle the crazy person. and handle you. I ain't sit there. Going on 40 years, folks. Man, I mean, she can feel the way she can feel, and that's her experience, her life experiences. No, that's not what they call it. What is it? That's her lived experiences. She's allowed to feel her feelings. No, she ain't allowed to feel her feelings. But sometimes them feelings that she feels ends up putting me in a position that's unnecessarily dangerous. And even if it's not unnecessarily dangerous, it's unnecessarily stressful and anxious, anxiety ridden. Then I got to handle it. When all Deidre needed to do is shut up. Because a lot of times, whatever the dispute's about, it's not worth the trouble. It ain't worth the squeeze. But my emotions are going, and I feel so very stirred up and authentic. So I'm gonna have my say. I'm a mama bear, whatever. And so this is what's happening right here. I'm her husband. I extend to you my condolences, Kyle. So that's why I explained to this dude. And so after I let him know right there in my comment, and you welcome to zoom in there on your phone and to see exactly what I told him, Old boy's response to me here was, take it how you want. This is just, I wonder sometimes if these people on the internet that say stuff like that, if they actually have very many adult conversations with other adults. Because their little retorts here, they just always remind me of things that I heard people say when I was in middle school or high school, Take it how you want. You obviously have a few screws loose. That's an understatement. When I shake my head hard enough, I can feel some of them rattling around in there. So that ain't bothering me a bit for you to say that, brother. I've learned it's a part of my DNA, man. My DNA does not include Loctite. So I got a good many screws loose. You obviously have a few screws loose in your head. Just know, here comes the statement that shows beyond a shadow of a doubt that I'm talking to a man with a mind that's been trained by a woman. Probably first his mother, and then on to his wife. Just know that you are talking to another man's wife. Now he's wanting to appeal to masculine honor and dignity. Just know that you're talking to another man's wife. Kyle, when I'm talking to another man's wife, I talk to her with the same respect, honor, and dignity that I would talk to my own wife. I'm going to treat her with the same honor, dignity that I would my daughter, my mother. But the thing is this, Kyle, Miss Kristen did not approach me as another man's wife. The words coming out her fingers there on her love. No, it's probably like this. It's probably like this. Probably what she was doing. The words that she tapped out on her phone were not the words, the attitude or the behavior of another man's wife. Okay? They were the words at the very best of another child's mother, of which I am not one of. See? So she decided to step up to me. She and I weren't having a conversation. I don't have any idea who in the damn hell shit she is. She stepped up on me and decided she was going to wag her little finger, kind of like she probably does you, Kyle. Don't you do like that? You're being rude and condescending. You need to behave, you big ninny poop. That's not the behavior of another man's wife, sir. Kyle. So she came up on me to try to exert some sort of a authority over me that she didn't hold. That's called a usurper. She came to try to usurp my own position. So you, because of your feminine thinking, you think that I should honor the hierarchy of going through the position of another man in order to address the behavior of his wife rather than going direct to the wife, to instead respect that marriage and that position of God, man, woman, God, husband, wife. So you think that I should move laterally over to husband, and then the husband go and address the wife instead of going directly to the wife, which is the proper way to go through the husband. So you expect me to honor that time tried and true, time honored tradition of what is the patriarchal hierarchy, but you ain't gonna look over at that woman you married to and tell her to know her role and shut her mouth and get in line and stop stepping up on me and trying to be their mama? That ain't how it works, brother. I am happy, 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 happy. Can't tell you how happy I am to honor your standard that you have here of remembering, or just know that you're talking to another man's wife. But first, I need you to step up on your woman and tell her to stop stepping up on another woman's husband, trying to talk to him like she's some damn body. You get your wife to behave like a lady and take the position of a submitted wife, submitted to you, not me. You get your wife to honor the patriarchy, which means the rule of the father, which means God, man, women, children. You get her to step into that hierarchical structure, you ain't got to worry about me talking to her any kind of way that's going to be disrespectful. But if you think for a dadgum minute that your woman, just cause it's reasonable for me to assume she gets to talk to you any old kind of way, and if that's the case, just because she might get to talk to you any old damn hell shit kind of way, do you think I have some obligation to let her step up on me and talk to me any old kind of way? And I gotta look at my feet like I'm looking for loose change on the ground or something? I can't look up at her because, she might, I don't want to hurt nobody's feelings, I don't want nobody to think I'm a bad guy. I'm telling you, man, if that's what you expect, I ain't the one, man. That ain't the way it works. That ain't reasonable. That's not the way the patriarchal hierarchy works. If your woman want to step up on me, I don't give a damn hell shit if it's on the internet or if it's in the room with me. She wants to step up on me and speak to me in that voice, that tone, as if she's another man. I'm gonna respond to her as if we're on the same level, like I'm talking man to man. And I'm going to tell her that she ain't got no position to be telling me to do nothing. She needs to step down. And if you don't like that, I don't know what to tell you, man. I'll tell you. Your implication over here in your first comment right here, talking about, I'm not one to sit idle. I don't know what that means. I don't know if that's some threat of violence or something. But that ain't going to help you. I mean, I'm a 54-year-old wore-out old redneck man, so if you did pop up on me and give me a whooping, what have you accomplished, man? You beat up an old man. A fat old man, too. So you ain't accomplished nothing. And even if you did, because, I'm too old to fight and I'm too proud to run, so I tend, in a situation like that, there's a little bit of a possibility that some ventilation might happen, if necessary. But if not, even if you did whoop me, what have you accomplished? You beat up a fat old wore-out redneck over some conversation on the internet, so you still gonna look stupid. And if you whoop me bad enough, once all the swelling go down on my face where I open my eyes and move my lips around again and say something, you know what I'm gonna say? The same stuff I said that pissed you off to begin with. So you ain't gonna be accomplished nothing. I mean, so you gonna end up all riled up, possibly doing things that might cost you your liberty or your bank account. I'm still going to, dude, I've been like this for 54 years. Do you really think that Kyle McDaniel is going to be able to do something to shut me up, brother? Like I try to tell your wife over there, that woman that sleeps in my spit every night, she done have 5 children for me. She don't get to control how I behave, so why you think you or your damn woman does? So, it's a good idea. It's a lot more efficient and effective idea instead for you to go home and lead your wife and tell her, baby, there is a time-honored hierarchical establishment in society when it comes to men and women. And that is what has produced the civilization we enjoy in the West. Now, you your own woman, you can go out there stirring up bullshit, running your pie hole to other men if you want to, that you don't even know about stuff you don't even know anything about if you want to. But unless they a little old punk, they probably gonna say something back to you. You want to step up on them like y'all got equal rights. You gonna speak to him like you equal. He gonna return and speak to you back like you equal. And when I go tell him to try to remind him that you speaking to another man's wife, I'm gonna look like a damn fool. And if it got crazy enough, you could be risking my health and safety and possibly my liberty. So what I need you to do is you control yourself and you realize that you ain't no man. And I need you to understand that you need to take your position in the hierarchy and stop trying to step up and talk to men like you somebody. Like you got some influence or position to tell some man how he ought to behave. Especially when that man's probably got clothes in his closet's older than you. That's all I'm trying to say, Kyle. And if you can't do that, and I'm not talking about something I ain't already experienced. Don't you think for a minute Deidre Snyder was no easy chore. But it just don't make no sense, man. It makes you look weak. When your wife gets to just step up on men and say whatever she wants, wagging her finger like she got something, that she's, at the very least, she's that man's school teacher. And then when that man responds to her in like manner, here you come out the closet, but your look kazoo, like you now you gonna white knight out there and you gonna defend her. You not allowed to talk to her like that. Masculine-minded men like myself, they're gonna look at you and they're gonna say, yeah, she talks to him like that. He's out here trying to make a show because he knows if he don't. Oh, perfect example, Willie Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith. Yeah. Keep my wife's name out your mouth. Man, please. Man, please. Look, I ain't trying to be mad at you. I ain't mad at you. I feel bad for you because you're a product of the feminized society that's taught you that standing up as a masculine man and leading your wife or holding her accountable is some sort of an immoral thing. But the fact of the matter is, sin entered into creation because Eve believed that she could look at the fruit of her own understanding. I'm a grown woman. I got enough sense to make my own decisions. Can't nobody control my behavior. You know, and I can see that fruit is beautiful and good to eat. I'm going to eat of it. You know, Adam, she turned and gave of he and gave it to him to eat. And you know what he did? You can't talk to my wife like that. He ate of it too. There's a lot more at stake here, man, than just a Facebook conversation. This dynamic is one reason that we got things like Drag Queen Story Hour and boys thinking that they were born in the wrong body and girls thinking they were born in the wrong body. And I'm trying to help you, man. So If there's anything, if you need any more advice from a 50-something-year-old man that's done raised 5 kids, done been married, it looks like longer than you've been alive, I probably made more mistakes than you've even tried to do things. I probably failed at more things than you've ever even attempted to do. I've probably forgotten more stuff than you know, brother. If you reach out to me, Kyle, I ain't your enemy, man. I'm trying to help you. And so reach out to me, and I will be happy, 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 happy. I can't tell you how happy I will be to help you. But at the end of the day, all of your posturing and your virtue signaling here and your white knighting and cucking and everything, but I ain't the one to sit idle. I don't know what that means. But all of that kind of stuff, that ain't gonna have no effect other than maybe your woman over there thinking, ooh, oh yeah, he protected me. You might get some benefit out of that. But other than that, I am Dane, and I will remain.